Jonathan here, and welcome back to another speed draw. In this video, I am drawing the scenery of a beach in oil pastels. So first of all, I started with this sketch, and then I moved on to oil pastels. I'm working on a pretty big piece of paper, which is A3, or if you're in the US, I think it's tabloid or ledger paper, I don't know. But anyway, so I started off with a sketch, which I didn't film too much of because this is mostly about the oil pastel coloring. So I started off with a really light sketch, and yeah. So you can see in the background there's a little V-shaped thing, which is the back mountain, and in the front there is a bigger shape, which is the fore mountain. At the base of the mountain there's some rocks, and then you have the beach. So from the rocks down it's all water, except for you can see this line that comes through the middle of the page, slightly diagonal, which is where the sand is. So to the right there's the sand, to the left there is the water. So that's basically what I imagined. I did use a reference photo that one of my family members apparently took at a beach, and then I erased out and made it as light as possible. I erased everything out, but just so that I could see it a little bit, that the lines wouldn't show up. Then I started moving into oil pastels. The sky was a bright blue, but nearer towards the mountain it was lighter, and farther up it was darker. So I wanted to have a nice gradient effect. But this is the first time that I made an oil pastel picture, so I'm still working out what's really going on with the oil pastels. But you'll see in the end, I'm pretty proud of it. So yeah, I'm continuing the sky. I'm trying to make it a bit smoother, and then you'll see me later going in and blending with my finger, which kind of like removes a little bit. Yeah, there we go. I just skipped further a little bit. You can see me blending in with my finger, which it takes a little while, but it works. It worked pretty well. It just removed the color a little bit, but I think I used that to my advantage, and it made the sky just look a little bit softer. Then here I started off with the back mountain, and so I saw on some videos, I was looking around to see how oil pastel techniques, and I saw one where you just do like little, I guess, circles or scribbles kind of going around which color you wanted, and then using another color around that you want, whatever color that you want, and you try and fill in the gaps, but you still continue doing scribbles. And then you do more and more layers of that, and then at the end it ends up blending together smoothly, which I found looked really nice in the mountains. They gave the effects of the trees, I guess you could say, and their leaves, which I thought was pretty useful. There you can see my head peeking through. I had to place the tripod pretty high up because, once again, that was a big sheet of paper. Now I'm starting off with the fore mountain. So that mountain, it had a kind of a different green to it, a little bit lighter. So I used a different green. Like, I had the same greens, but one of them, because I had 3 greens, I changed one of them for another one just to give it the lighter kind of foreground effect. So you can see me here redoing the scribbles and everything. Then I'm going over with another green trying to fill in the gaps. And also I sped through this really like a lot. This took me a really long time to do. And also with the researching and figuring out the techniques and everything, it took me even longer than it would have if I knew how to use oil pastels that good. And so this did take me a long time, so I did cut a lot of bits out. Yeah, I cut a lot of bits out, and I sped through it a lot quicker than you would have seen in my other speed draw, which I'll link somewhere up here. So yeah, about the mountains, I don't really have much else to say apart from just going over in more layers and more layers. Oh, also I laid a piece of paper in the back so that it wouldn't go over with my pastels onto my workspace. Though somehow it did happen anyway. Yeah, that took a little while to get off, but now it's gone. You can see me here peeling off the paper because I had used quite a bit of yellow pastel there, so I was just peeling off the paper to make more space. So yeah, you can see here I like cut a bit out, and it's pretty blended together now, and it's looking good. Now next I'm moving on to the rocks here, which I find was one of my most favorite parts. I loved blending the beige with the orange and the gray. I just think it had a really nice overall effect, and I think I had most fun doing that. So it did require a lot of observations. When I was looking at my reference photo, I saw like how at the bottom and at the top it was kind of orange, the rocks, and then they were blending together into the gray, which I found was really, really pretty. Okay, also in the foreground there was kind of a tree kind of hanging over. I kind of changed that up a little bit from the original photo, but it's still there kind of. And so yeah, it was a little bit of different green. I tried a similar mix of colors as in the back mountain, so that you could still see it even though it was in front of the other mountain, the front mountain. So yeah, now I'm moving on to the water. All the way in the back, kind of at the floor of the back mountain, you can see some sand, which I made because there's like a little bit of beach over there, but since it's so far away, it's really tiny. So there's just a small length of sand there. Then I'm doing water, and I had a light blue and a dark blue, but also around the base of the mountain. To make the reflection of the mountain into the water, I went over with a green, which I kind of found difficult making the reflection. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and I tried to blend it with the water. After, you'll see later me blending the green with the water, and it just wasn't. It was just removing the color, and it wasn't blending very well. Although in the end, it still looked pretty. It looked okay at the end, though. Then you can see me pulling out an actual piece of paper to blend it, and going over with more green so the color wouldn't disappear. And I went over with so much green, as you can see right now. Yeah, it's a lot of green. And if I were redoing this now, I think I wouldn't have blended it too much. I would have made it a little bit more rough, but I wouldn't have laid down that much color. Luckily, after when I was blending with the tissue paper, it made it a bit softer and the color wasn't too intense. But I think maybe a little bit of contrast would have been better. Okay, so here I'm just blending the dark blue with the light blue with that tissue paper again. And then I was pretty happy once some of the color came off, so that it wasn't out of place. Because I felt when I was doing this that when I tried with the green, felt like it wasn't supposed to be there too much. So luckily when I blended it, it was a little bit better. Okay, so more blending with the tissue paper again, and then I started, I think here was when I was kind of adding little less touches to the rock, because I hadn't done the little last stretch of rock, which was by the beach. And then once that was finished, I began to make the sand. So the sand, I had trouble finding a good color that went with it, but in the end I found if I put a bit of beige with yellow, it kind of turned into a sandy color. Okay, so here it was kind of out of frame, but there was a little bush in the bottom right corner that had its leaves kind of coming out. And sadly, the paper just didn't fit in the frame that much. Like, the bottom didn't fit in the frame, and if I tried to bring it up a little bit, it would knock against the tripod. And here you can see me trying, from blending so much and from laying down that much color, I was leaving like a little, in some places, when I went over too much, it would leave little, like, flecks. But then I just shook them off and it was fine. That's why you saw me lifting the paper. Okay, so I was doing that scribbling technique again, but it was just with the beige, the yellow, and some white as well. I think the white was a good way of blending, though it did make the color a little bit lighter, but not as much as using the tissue paper. So yeah, then after I went down under the tree, and I made the drop shadow from it, because it was going down a bit. Yeah, so you can see the piece is almost finished, and now all I was doing is just adding shadow. I was adding shadow onto the rocks, adding shadow onto the mountain, just to give a bit of more contrast since it looked a little bit flat. This is just the polishing stage. Well, the video is coming to a close. It's basically finished just about. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it, and I certainly enjoyed making this piece. I was happy with the end result. So yeah, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!